a new Division One women's volleyball poll has been released. Nobody dropped out of top 25 from last week to this week. However, there were some shakeups when you look at it. From last poll to this one, it goes as follows: Pitt with 49 first place votes, Nebraska with 11, Penn State with 1 first place vote, Louisville, Creighton, Stanford, Wisconsin, Kansas, Purdue, SMU, Arizona State, Oregon, Kentucky, Minnesota, Texas, Georgia Tech, Baylor, TCU, Dayton, USC, BYU, Florida, Utah, Florida State, and North Carolina. Now, receiving vote teams goes as follows: Missouri with 102, Washington with 39, Texas A&M with 27, Arkansas with 23, Marquette with 23, Miami, Florida with 15, and South Dakota State with 13. And granted, what I'm going to go over on RPI wise is some of these teams are like one bid leagues, and not all these conferences have conference tournaments. So obviously, if you win your conference tournament, you're automatically in it. If you don't have a conference tournament, it's a one bid league. You got to win their conference, of course. I mean, I'm just telling the truth. Now, the RPI is like through games November 3rd, and the top 16 RPI would be like Louisville, Nebraska, Pitt, Penn State, Creighton, Stanford, Wisconsin, SMU, Arizona State, Kansas, Texas, Kentucky, TCU, Dayton, Oregon, and Utah, though USC, Baylor, Georgia Tech, and BYU are close behind. But what do we see on down? And granted that they're going to try to release like Division One committee's top 16 eventually again. It's just not been published in a while on the NCAA website. But I want to now go over like teams with RPIs from 35 through 70. Just to give some context on some bubble teams. Obviously, if you're like 35 through 39, I think you're safer than 40 through 50. But I just still want to give some context to all this. Like Miami, Florida, Rice, Wright State, South Carolina, NC State, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Yale, UTEP, Hawaii, Georgia Southern, University of Northern Iowa, Pepperdine, Michigan, San Diego, Wichita State, LSU, App State, High Point, Florida Gulf Coast University, Arizona, UCLA, Bucknell, UT Arlington, Colorado State, Mercer, USF, UConn, Western Kentucky, Ohio State, Southern Louisiana, UIC, which does stand for University of Illinois at Chicago. I did not know that, so I had to look it up real fast. And I apologize for looking down because I cannot memorize all this stuff. And then Indiana, then SFA, aka Stephen F. Austin. Obviously, if they're like in a league that has a worse RPI than 70, win your conference, you're automatically out. And win your conference tournament if you even have one. That's the thing. And you got to avoid bad losses, especially for those teams that want to be a top 16 host, because that it's not guaranteed you're going to get to a Sweet 16, but it makes your path a little bit easier. As we all know, first two rounds are hosted by the top 16 teams. Well, of course, if you want to be a top seed in each side of the bracket, like for example, like 1 through 4, you get the possibility to host up to like the Elite 8 game, like Sweet 16 and Elite 8 game. And all this, and win as much as possible. Really, that's the best route to go. Now, my top 10 for Division I women's volleyball goes as follows. It's similar: Pitt, Nebraska, Penn State, Louisville, Creighton, Wisconsin, Stanford, Kansas, Purdue, SMU. Now, outside looking at it, it's no particular order on this, are the following teams: Arizona State, Oregon, Kentucky, Minnesota, Georgia Tech, Texas, Baylor. And I'm not going to include TCU, but if you want to go right ahead, go right ahead. They're just right there. Now, there are some top 25 showdowns between now and next poll. Those games would be number 8, Kansas, and number 11, Arizona State. Number 2, Nebraska, number 12, Oregon. Number 1, Pitt, and number 25, North Carolina. Number 7, Wisconsin, and number 14, Minnesota. Number 21, BYU, and number 23, Utah. Number 3, Penn State, and number 7, Wisconsin. Number 12, Oregon, and number 14, Minnesota. Number 25, North Carolina, and number 10, SMU. And number 16, Georgia Tech, and number 6, Stanford. Of course, all these games does have implications of whether or not you're going to be like potentially like a host the first 2 rounds and that's it, or you're going to be a top like the top highest ranked seed possible to host up like Sweet 16 Elite 8 games. And of course, it depends on who's the highest ranked team left in all this. And not only we need to keep an eye on for those ranked versus ranked, but on those ranked versus unranked. Or even unranked versus unranked, because you never know. They could climb in to the top 25 possibly, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 7 subscribers. Goal, ultimate goal. It's 1,000 more. So my money after this course. Like video, comment video. Really helps YouTube algorithm so more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well, so more people can watch it. If you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button for your notification bell as well.